Okay, so let's wrap up everything we've talked about with ROI and the various metrics we've had in this class. So I want to show you how, with the information we've explored throughout all the quizzes, what we can actually add into the ROI and why we might actually leave something out. There's actually a concern where you don't want to double dip your benefits, and I'll show you where you'd probably want to leave out any of the subscriber information from the scenario we've looked at. Taking it back to the very beginning, our simple ROI is the revenue minus our campaign costs divided by campaign costs. Now, if you remember, the way that I told you to think about this is to look at ROI as a multiple of how much your costs were. So if you have a 5 times ROI, that means for every dollar you spent, you had a 5 times revenue that you brought in. So in this case, our campaign media cost is $500 for Facebook, and our revenue is $20,000. We'll deal with agency fees and staff hours here in the next scenario. So substituting and solving, we get an incredible number of 39 times ROI. Now, we know more about the costs that we've had to allocate towards this because we know that an agency guided us on picking our target, and that was $200 for Facebook. And we had 15 staff hours for a social media analyst at $15 per hour. So let's enhance our estimate. So our revenue will stay the same, but we're now looking at all the campaign costs. So 15 times 15 is 225. Add up all the campaign costs, that's 925. Do the math. Now we're down to 20.6 times ROI. Now, that's still pretty amazing. So let's look at the other information that we have. We know as well from our reporting how many views we got and how many people shared or viewed shares from the campaign, and that would be 15,000. So let's take that into account. Now, if you remember, cost per view is the campaign cost divided by the number of views. Now, in a couple of instances, I saw where somebody had reversed the division. They did the number of views divided by campaign costs. Always think about the units that this will end up in. So this would be dollars per view. And so you'd want to make sure that you have your cost or your dollars up top. So your campaign cost was 500 divided by the number of views. 500 divided by 40,000, or about a penny and a quarter per view. Great. Now, if you remember, to get the value of those organic views or shares, we multiply that number times that 15,000 organic shares. So the additional value that we got from that is $187.50. Since we know this, we could actually do a more enhanced ROI. And instead of just looking at the revenue, let's consider that value includes your revenue and that additional value from those eyeballs. And so the way I would look at this is the value, which is the $20,000 revenue, times the value of those, plus the value of those organic shares. Plug that in. So instead of our 20,000, we now have 20,187. Now, if you think about it, this is not going to change the number that much. But if you're trying to explain that you're really nicely looking at ROI from a all-inclusive standpoint, now we're at 20.8 times ROI. You would be able to say, okay, if we're taking into account all these other benefits from it, that's something that has definitely helped. Now, what I would also say, as you are calculating these, if you're presenting them to your management, do the calculation and then put assumptions down below that, here are the number of organic shares. Tell them where you got it. You want to preempt any comments or questions to show, okay, there's rigor to my work, it comes from our numbers, and the numbers should speak for themselves. Now, if you noticed, I haven't had you calculate the value per subscriber or the total value of subscribers. We don't add that in because we've already benefited from that in other elements. Basically, the old adage, we don't want to double dip, comes into account here. So value per subscriber and total value from subscribers, it's a great metric, but it's not necessarily one that I would include in an ROI. So as you start to think about elements or ways that you can enhance your ROI, make sure that you're asking yourself, does this improve the accuracy of the ROI, and have I actually already accounted for that in something else that I put into my metrics? So when you're working out in your next amazing job after you've left the program and landed your dream job, always do an estimated ROI for any project you're going to do or any campaign, and then measure it after the fact. Whenever I had a project at American Express, it was explicitly stated we had to forecast both the return on investment and the payback period. So this is definitely a metric that will help you. So the goal of this final quiz is to pull all the concepts together and think about how we can increase our sophistication, measure the right things, and these are all numbers that you should see on any standard dashboard or report, but get better at telling a story about what you're contributing. As you're reading the news or seeing tweets or blog posts, you'll hear over and over again, I have a hard time proving the ROI of social. Well, you're getting better at that. And I want you to think critically in your career about how you can continue to refine and enhance and what measures you can capture better over time. You're going to do a fantastic job in your career, and being able to calculate ROI from a simple scenario to a more complex one will serve you very well. Good luck on the quiz.